So in the continuation of that particular material tensile testing, we are now focusing again the next slide that how this particular wedges is working. So when wedge grip are used, the specimen must be installed so that the clamping force is contained within the grip body. So placing the specimen too near the open end of the grip body result in excessive stress on the grip body, and insert and is a common cause of grip failure. So that the problem which need to be taken care कि आप अगर जो जॉ है पर्टिकुलर मशीन का, अगर स्पेसिमेन को जस्ट उसके टिप के पास, जब उसके माउथ के टिप के पास भी अगर आप सेटल करेंगे तो हो सकता है कि वो स्लिप करे, जब उस पर लोड लगाए वो पर्टिकुलर तरीके से ग्रिपिंग ना करें। तो ग्रिपिंग बेहतर करने के लिए क्या करेंगे, उसको आप जो पर्टिकुलर एरिया प्रोवाइड किया गया है शोल्डर का, आप जो क्या कहता है जो पर्टिकुलर शोल्डर का दिया गया है जो डॉग बोन शेप है, उस पर्टिकुलर एरिया को इंसर्ट करेंगे पर्टिकुलर वेजेस के अंदर और देन प्रॉपर्ली उसको ग्रिप करेंगे। अगर आप जस्ट टिप से उसको ग्रिप करेंगे तो चांसेस होंगे स्लिप करने की, बट यू नीड टू होल्ड दिस particular shoulder from that particular step presence, and then it need to be work properly. So the what is the warning? The grip failure are the dangerous obviously and may cause injury to the personnel and damage to the equipment. So if during the test if the material is escape from their position, there is a lots of casualties is to be happen, and that is why I am telling you this is the very most important concern is need to be taken care while performing any kind of a test on the equipment or in the material. So the grip failure are dangerous and may cause injury. So this need to be taken care. So what is happening when we started this particular thing, and then the test is to be identified, and what are the next procedure is to be followed. The data generally may be grouped into the raw data, meaning that the observed reading of the measuring instrument and calculated data. So चाहे उसको देख के हम आइडेंटिफाई करें या मेजर करके करते हैं डाटा को मेजरिंग इंस्ट्रूमेंट से. So the meaning the test result obtained after the first step of analysis. And in the most simple tensile test, the raw data comprises single measurement of the peak force output of the first level of analysis are the mechanical property of the material being tested. So this point is to be mentioned. You need to be taking care of that particular point. So upon completion of the group of the test performed on the sample, a statistical analysis may be made. So this statistical analysis produces average mean or the median values of a representation of the sample in the subsequent database, and also provide information about the uniformity of the material and the repeatability of the test. So these particular statistical work is need to be taken care after that particular working of the material or working of the test on that particular material. So the result of the test on each specimen sample of the material may be stored in the database for the future use. So it is used for the reference work, that in the next time whether another material or the same material is came for the test, it can be comparable according to that particular data. So after my improvement and improvement it is required that we need to take care of these things. So the database allows a wide range of analysis to be performed by using the statistics method to correlate the mechanical property data with other information about the material. And for example, it may allow determination of the whether or not there is a significant difference between the material tested and similar material obtained from a different supplier or through a different production path. So these things variations will vary the test result, and that's why the earlier report is need to be taken care in the ground and can be utilized for the comparison of that particular thing. So now what is the reporting, and the test reports usually contain the result of the test performed on one sample composed of several specimens. Same when the ASTM specification, American Society for Testing Materials specification, are used for the testing as we discussed. So the requirements of the reporting are defined. by the specification, and the needs of a particular user probably will determine the form for identification of the material. And but the reported result will most likely to be given is as the ASTM standard test specification. So the information contained in the test report generally should include identification of the testing equipment and the material to be tested and the test procedure, the raw and the calculated data for each specimen, and the brief statistical summary of the sample. So these things still need to be taken care regarding reporting. So each piece of the test equipment used for the test should be identified, including serial numbers, capacity or range used, and the data of the certification or grade due of our various certification. So these things need to be mentioned in that particular reporting. And the identification of the material tested should include the type of a material, alloy, part number, etc., which we earlier shown in that slide, that is the particular specification of the material, and the specific batch, lot, order, heat, or while. So all detail which is need to be taken care, and the sample was taken and any test or pre-test condition, temperature, again, etc. All the scenario is to be mentioned in that particular report. So identification of the test procedure usually will be reported by reference to a standard test procedure such as those published by the ASTM, and that's why we are always following this particular ASTM standard or perhaps to a proprietary specification originating within the testing organization. So the raw data for each specimen are recorded, or a reference to the raw data is included, so that the data for each specimen can be obtained from a file if and when they are needed. So from where we can conclude that thing. And frequently only a portion of raw data dimension, for example, recorded, and information of the force versus extension graph is referenced. That is a stress strain graph that we earlier in discussion. So from there we can calculate these things and understand how the particular material specification is working. So tabulation of that particular property is calculated for each specimen is recorded, and the calculation at this stage are the first level of the data analysis. The calculation required usually are defined in the test procedure or specification. And the brief statistical summary of the sample is a feature that is becoming more common with the proprietary and the computerized test system. And this is how this particular test is to be performed. And after performing this test, we need to take care of these things. So for that, I am focusing on this particular point. So the statistical summary may include the average, mean value, median values, standard deviation, high value, lowest value range. So all this range is to be included in this particular report, and that is how we you can say we can compare it in these test results. So the average or the median value would be used to represent this sample at the next level of the analysis, that further analysis of this particular thing is to be taken care. Is it that simple as it? अगर आप किसी डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं तो डॉक्टर पर्ची पे दवा लिखता है, वो डाटा रिकॉर्ड हो जाता है, फिर आप नेक्स्ट टाइम जब जाते हैं तो आप जिस तरह से अपनी प्रॉब्लम बताते हैं, अगली दवाई पिछली दवाई को देख के वो डाटा अपने दवा को देता है, और उसी के बिहाफ पे वो आपकी एनालिसिस करता है और आपको सही करता है. सो सेम काम यहाँ पे भी है मटेरियल के साथ भी, कि किस तरह से डाटा पहला जो अवेलेबल है उसके बिहाफ पे दूसरे डाटा को मेंटेन करके काम किया जाए. सो विद द मटेरियल डाटाबेस व्हिच इज रिलेटेड, and the examination of this initial statistical information can tell a great deal about the test as well. So low standard deviation or the range indicate that the material in the sample has uniform property. Each of certain specimen has nearly the same value of the measured and the test processing of these particular things. So these things need to be mentioned, all these things. So continuous recording of the average property and so on. These things are related with that particular test. So this is the case study which we discussed, and that is how these things should be taking care and maintaining this particular design test for examining the ductility of that particular metal piece or the material for making any kind of a product. So for this, I am holding this lecture. Thank you.